Kids, I'm Chavi Bansal. Hope you guys already know me. Okay, today we are going to do the second phylum of animal kingdom, which is Coelenterata, and we'll try to cover Ctenophora as well. Okay, once we are done with these three phylums, which is Porifera, which we are already done, then today Coelenterata and Ctenophora, and after that we'll have a quick revision in the next session, and we'll do certain questions. I'll give you the details of the questions in the next session. So today we are going to start with Coelenterata. Let me share my screen. Hope you guys are able to see my screen. Okay. So the name of this phylum is, this is the second phylum. And the name of the phylum is Coelenterata. There is another name of the phylum called as Cnidaria. Now, each phylum, the name have some significance. Why Coelenterata? Because they have coelentron. What is coelentron? It's a gastrovascular cavity. It is not the coelom that we are going to discuss. We were discussing like a coelom. No, it is a gastrovascular cavity. The gastrovascular cavity present in coelentrates is called as coelentron. Because of this, they are called as coelenterata. But why Cnidaria? Cnidaria because they have cnidoblast cells. Cnidoblast cells are also called as stinging cells or nematocytes. These are what? These are the cells which attack, like these cells, these are the cells which sting the other organism. Okay. It may be due to the food, it may be due to the prey and predator thing, anything. Okay. So they are called as cnidoblast cells or stinging cells or nematocytes. And these stinging cells are chemical based. Means once they attack, they releases the toxic chemical, and then that chemical works on the other organism. So why the why the phylum is named Coelenterata? Because of the presence of a gastrovascular cavity called coelentron, or they're also called as Cnidaria because of the presence of cnidoblast cells or stinging cells or nematocytes, because they releases the chemical when they sting the other organism. Clear? This is why the name is so. Next is habitat. What is habitat? So they are aquatic. Most of them are marine. Okay. Example is Adamsia, also called as sea anemone. See, we are doing example parallelly so that once we are doing these animals in detail, you'll be able to realize, like it will be a revision also, and you will be able to realize that what are the properties of these animals as well. And in fresh water, they have hydra. Okay. Habit. Mostly sessile. Sessile means attached to the substratum, but some are motile also. For example, jellyfish. The other name of jellyfish is Aurelia. Okay. These jellyfishes are free swimming. What is free swimming? That they can swim freely. Okay. They do not need any substratum to attach to. They can freely swim in the water. There is another habit also, which is solitary and colonial. What is solitary? Being alone. Okay. For example, jellyfishes, they stay alone. And colonial means they are moving in a group. For example, Physalia. Okay. So what is the habitat? Habitat, it's aquatic. It can be marine or freshwater. Marine is they're mostly marine. Example, Adamsia or sea anemone. Freshwater, they have hydra. Then habit, they are mostly sessile. Some are free swimming. For example, jellyfish. Okay. Also called as Aurelia. Then another habit is either they are solitary or colonial. Solitary means they stay alone. For example, jellyfishes. And colonial means they stay in a colony. For example, Physalia. Okay. Clear? Next is symmetry. So we did already symmetry in Porifera. What was the symmetry? Asymmetrical. In this phylum, they are radially symmetrical. Which of the Porifera has radial symmetry? Cycon or Scypha, right? Here, all the phylum has, or all the members of the phylum has radial symmetry. Germ layers. What are the germ layers? They are diploblastic, right? They are diploblastic with mesoglia. What is mesoglia? Mesoglia is the non-living layer between ectoderm and endoderm. Okay. Then they are acoelomate. Why? The coelom, it develops in a triploblastic organism first, and this gastrovascular cavity or cylindron that we are discussing here is not of an embryonic origin. Okay. The embryonic origin coelom is absent. That's why they are called as acoelomate. Okay. What is level of organization? They have tissue level of organization. In Porifera, what was the level of organization? Cellular, right? Here, they have tissue level of organization. These are the, why I'm comparing with the Porifera, these are the advancements over Porifera. Porifera, they were they all were asymmetrical except Scypha, which was radially symmetrical. Here, everyone is radially symmetrical. They had cellular level of organization. Here, they have tissue level of organization. Clear? Then, this is a very important characteristic. Organism show polymorphism. What is morphism? Poly means multiple, right? Morph means morphology. When an organism shows multiple morphology in their lifespan, they are called as polymorphism. Therefore, that is more than one form. Okay. If they show two forms, they are called as dimorphic. If they show more than two forms, they are called as polymorphic. Okay. We'll see if the coelentrates are dimorphic or polymorphic later. Next is body. How is the body? For example, let's take the example of Hydra. Right? These are what? These are tentacles. This is Hydra, which is attached to the substratum. This region is called as mouth. And this bulged part where the mouth is present is called as hypostome. What is it called? Hypostome. These tentacles are very important. Why? Because these tentacles, they help in swimming first. Second, these are the ones that carry the nidoblast cells. Nidoblast cells. Okay. What are these nidoblast cells? These are the Stindin cell. Okay. Should we see the structure of nidoblast cells? Okay. Fine. Nidoblast cells. So when it is not Stindin, right? At that time, this is how it looks like. This is a nidoblast cell. Okay. This is the nucleus. This is the lasso, which helps in the attachment. This is capsule. Okay. This is the shaft. This is nidocell. And inside the shaft, there are small spines present. These are called as spines. Okay. So this capsule is also called as nematocyst or stinging organ. Okay. This is how a nidoblast cell look like. What it has a nucleus, it has a lasso which keeps the capsule in the place, right? And then capsule has a nidocell. This nidocell, it detects the presence of other organism. Means this nidocell is very sensitive, okay? If something touches it and it moves, it helps in the release of the toxin from the nidoblast cell. Fine. Then this shaft, it has spines and it also has a long tube. Fine. Now, this capsule is also called as nematocyst or the stinging organ, which is kept in place with the help of lasso. Now, this is how it looks when it is closed. When it is open, it looks like this. That spines wala part will get exposed, right? Like this. And then this tube that was wrapped around the shaft containing the chemical will come out. Okay. This is again nucleus. This is lasso. This is the shaft. These are the spines, endocell. These are the thread tube which was lined around the shaft. Okay. Is it clear? So where are these nidoblast cells? This is the closed one. This is the open one. Now this thread, it will release the chemical to the other organism. Fine. So these nidoblast cells, where are they present? See, they have to be present near the mouth region for the capturing of the prey. They are present near mouth region, helps in capture of prey, anchorage, and defense, obviously. For the defense, they are this way, right? These are the nidoblast cells and how they are in coiled state or a closed state and a open state. Clear? Any doubt? Next is digestive system or digestive tract. Now, how is the digestive tract? It is incomplete. Why? We can see the mouth region, but we do not see the anus. It is incomplete as it has only mouth and anus as one opening. Right? It has only one opening, because of which it is called as incomplete. Digestive tract is gastrovascular cavity. Means in that cavity only digestion takes place. Okay. And in case of porifera, what type of digestion it was? Intracellular or extracellular? It was intracellular, right? In case they have both extracellular as well as intracellular digestion, right? Is it clear? Any doubts so far? Next is, we talked about the body, it shows polymorphism, right? Multiple forms, different morphology. So let's see what are these forms. The body form. These organisms are dimorphic, means they show two forms. One is polyp and the other is medusa. They are dimorphic and shows polyp and medusa state. Okay, let's see with the comparison. In case of polyp, how does polyp look like? If you see the structure of polyp, this is how it looks like. Okay, this is polyp. If you see, it is the structure which is fixed to the substratum. Fixed to the substratum. Means they are sessile in nature. Okay. What was the example of sessile ones? Example is Adamsia. Adamsia, the other name of Adamsia is sea anemone. Okay. If I see the medusae form, medusae, how do it look like? It looks like an umbrella shaped. Something like this. Okay. It is movable. Means it is free swimming. What was the example of free swimming? Jellyfish, right? Jellyfish. It also looks like a jellyfish, right? This is how the medusa or the polyp form looks like. Now, what are the other differences? So, polyp is sessile in nature. They are cylindrical in shape. Okay. Whereas these are umbrella shaped. Fine. Next, they may be solitary or colonial, right? Polyp can be solitary or colonial. They can be solitary or colonial. But these are always solitary. Always solitary. Fine. Next is the mouth is directed upward. If you see, this is the mouth region. It is directed upward. Here it is directed downward. So mouth is directed upwards. Whereas in this, mouth is directed downwards. Okay. Next, polyp is an asexual form. Means it is going to reproduce by asexual mode. So because if it is an asexual form, it means it does not require any gonads, right? So it is a asexual form. Therefore, no gonads are present. Okay. What do? They feed and protect the colony. Fine. They do not have any sense organs. Sense organs are absent. Means sense cell are absent. Example is Hydra and Adamsia. Adamsia we already saw. Hydra also belong to the polyp form. Fine. Here, these are the sexual forms. Means they will have gonads. They will reproduce sexually. The mating of the gonads will take place. So they are the sexual form. They do sexual reproduction and dispersal of species. Okay. They have 8 sense cells called statocyst, which helps in equilibrium or balancing. Okay. And they have 4 gonads. Fine. Example is Aurelia or jellyfish. Fine. This is a polyp state. This is a medusa state. Let's take a quick look again. Polyp, it's a sessile form where the mouth is directed upward. They can be colonial, they can be solitary. Whereas Medusae is an umbrella shaped where the mouth is directed downwards. They are always free swimming and they are always solitary. Fine. Polyp is an asexual form, means it reproduces asexually. So if it reproduces asexually, they do not require any gonads. So no gonads are present. Along with no gonads, they do not have any sense cells present. Fine. And what is the role? They feed and protect the colony. Example is Hydra and Adamsia. Whereas Medusae is a sexual form, means it will have both the gonads and reproduction takes place sexually. Fine, which helps in the dispersal of species. They have 8 sense cells called as stetocysts and they have 4 gonads. Example is Aurelia. Fine. Now, these are the two forms. Now, there are different types of organisms. There are some organisms that always stay in polyp form. There are certain organisms that stay in medusae form. But there are certain organisms which change to the polyp to the medusae form. Fine. Let's see. Now, organisms take birth as polyp and die as polyp. This is one form. Second, organisms take birth as medusae and die as medusae. Okay. Third, organisms live half-life as medusa and rest as polyp. Okay. So how it is possible? First, they will live as a medusae form. In medusae form, there are gonads which will reproduce sexually and form by mating of gonads, gametes, they form a asexual form called as polyp. Okay. So what happens? Medusae, which is a 2N diploid organism, it will form polyp, which is again 2N by sexual reproduction. Why? Because medusae form has gonads, right? Then this polyp form can form medusae asexually. Why? Because they do not contain any gonads. Fine. So this type of alternation in generation where medusae can form polyp and polyp can form medusa, this is called as metagenesis. Okay. This alternation in generation is called metagenesis. And the example is Obelia, not Aurelia. Aurelia is jellyfish. Okay. Jellyfish always stays in the medusae form. Obelia is the other organism which shows this alternation in generation where medusae can be converted and polyp can give rise to the form. Okay. Is this clear? This is what polymorphism is. They basically show dimorphism and they have two forms, polyp and medusae. Clear? Next is respiration and excretion. So they do not have any special cells performing it. Respiration and excretion that takes place through body surface. And they releases ammonia as the chief excretory product. Therefore, they are ammonotelic. Therefore, they are ammonotelic. Fine. Next is nervous system. What is nervous system? Nervous system, they have very primitive form of nervous system. How? It has network of nerve cells and their processes. So these nerve cells are apolar neurons. Okay. So these apolar neurons are the ones that are considered as the nervous system here. Very primitive, have network of neurons and not neurons, network of nerve cells and their processes. And nerve cells are generally apolar. Apolar means no dendrites, no axon. Okay. This is the nervous system. Very primitive form of nervous system is present. Next is reproduction. We have already done reproduction is of two types. Both the types it can show sexual reproduction with the help of gametes and asexual reproduction by budding. In this case, external bud is formed. Internal bud is only and only formed in Porifera by budding. Okay. They also have very important trait, high power of regeneration. Hydra is a very good example of regeneration. Okay. Skeleton. Now, they have calcareous exo and endoskeleton. You have seen corals, right? Corals are what? Deposition of the calcium carbonate. Same way that here the exoskeleton, the skeleton which is present outside the body, is made up of calcium carbonate. Okay. Body is supported by exo and endoskeleton, which is calcareous. Calcareous means calcium carbonate. So exoskeleton, deposition of calcium carbonate at the body of corals is called exoskeleton. Okay, corals are also the example of coelentrates. Fine. Next is development. Development is indirect. In case of Porifera also, it was indirect. Here also, development is indirect. What is the larva name of Obelia? Obelia का larva का नाम है planula larva. Okay, this is a free living. There is a difference between free living and free swimming. This is a free living larva. What is the name of larva of Aurelia? Aurelia means jellyfish. They have planula, ephyra, and stryphistoma. Stryphistoma and ephyra. Okay, these are the larvae of Aurelia. Now, a homework question for all of you. What is the difference between polyp and medusa? No, that we already discussed. What is the difference between nematocyst and nematoblast? Go back and see what is the nematocyst and what is the nematoblast. Okay, this is your homework question. We'll discuss this in the next one. Next is classification of Coelenterata or Cnidaria. Okay, this classification is based on the dominant state. If it is medusiform, it is polyp form, which phase of which morphology is dominating in the life. On that basis, the Coelenterata or the Cnidaria is divided into three classes. Classification on the basis of dominance of medusae or polyp phase in life cycle. Okay, this is the basis of classification. First is hydrozoa. Hydrozoa means either they are polyp or they are polyp and medusa. Only polyp or polyp and medusa. Okay. Example, Hydra. Hydra is the example of only polyp form. Remember, we did this in when we were doing the polyp, right? Hydra is the example of polyp form. Then Obelia. Obelia is the one which shows alternation in generation. Then Physalia. Okay. Porpita. These are the ones that comes under the class Hydrozoa. Next is Scyphozoa. Scyphozoa means only medusiform. Only medusiform was jellyfish. Okay. Example is Aurelia or jellyfish. Fine. Next is third class is Anthozoa. What is Anthozoa? Only polyp form. No medusa. Okay. Example is Adamsia. What was the other name of Adamsia? Sea anemone and Gorgonia. Right? This is the classification of Coelenterata. Now, let's do these organisms that we are taught in Adamsia, Physalia, Obelia, Aurelia, Hydra in bit more detail so that we know already about these organisms. What is Hydra? Hydra, what we have learned for Hydra, it is a freshwater coelenterate. These are carnivorous. Carnivorous. They are only polyp form, right? They have great power of regeneration. And they have both bisexual and unisexual form. Both bisexual and unisexual form. Fine. This is Hydra. Next is Obelia. That sounds like Aurelia, but it is Obelia. The other name is sea fir. These common names are very, very important because there are so many names which will come: sea fir, sea pen, sea fan. So you should know what is the scientific name and what basically it represents. So Obelia is the one which shows metagenesis, which is alternation in generation, right? Polyp is the nutritive form. Medusa, they form by budding. Okay. They are also carnivorous. And what was the name of the larva for Obelia? Planula larva. Right? Next is Aurelia. Aurelia or jellyfish. We know it is the only medusa form. They are solitary. And the name of larva is Planula ephyra and Styphistoma. Already done. Physalia. Physalia, it is colonial. And the name is very important. It is called as Portuguese man of war. PNP, Physalia and Portuguese man of war. Okay, this is very important. In this, a gas gland is present in nematophore. What is nematophore? I'll tell you what are nematophores. These are present in nematophore which secrete gas, and because of the gas, it helps in floating of the animal to the water surface. Nematophore secretes gas that helps animal to float at surface. Okay. They also shows polymorphism. Polymorphism. So if you see the structure of Physalia, there are certain structure which are handing down from the Physalia. These structure are called as nematophores, and these are of 3 types. Okay. Nematophores are handing down. These are of 3 types: dactylozoids, gastrozoids, and gonadozoids. Gonadozoids, as the name suggests, for gonads. Gastrozoids is for nutrition, and dactylozoid is for food plus defense plus neurotoxic chemical. Okay, is it clear? Next, we are going to talk about Adamsia or sea anemone. Adamsia or sea anemone. These are marine, right? Only polyp form, right? They are found attached to the empty shells of mollusk occupied by hermit crab. They are found attached to empty shells of mollusks occupied by hermit crab. Okay, it means they show a relationship called as commensalism. What is commensalism? In which one is benefited and the other is neither harmed nor benefited. Here, Adamsia is getting benefited, but hermit crab is not getting any benefits. Okay, how? Because hermit crab, when it is moving, it helps in the motion, it helps in the movement for Adamsia also. Okay, so Adamsia show commensalism with hermit crab. Commensalism means positive and zero. What is positive? One is benefited and zero is no harm, no benefit. Who is benefited here? Adamsia. Okay. Hermit crab is nor crab, nor benefited, nor harmed. Helps in transport. This is the benefit. Okay. This is about Adamsia or sea anemone. Next and last is corals. Corals are very, very important. At least their common name is very important. Okay. Only coelentrates that has exoskeleton of CaCO3 exoskeleton. Okay. First is Peninsula. Peninsula or sea pen. Again, PNP. Okay. Second is Gorgonia. Gorgonia or sea fan. Third is Meandrina. Meandrina, also called as brain coral. These are very, very important. Okay. Remembering their common name, remembering their normal name, remembering what type of structure, what polyp, medusa, which form they shows are the really important part of Coelenterata. Is it clear? Let's have a quick revision of Coelenterata. Fine. Coelenterata is the second phylum, also called Coelenterata or Cnidaria. They have a gastrovascular cavity, also called as coelentron. Why they are called as Cnidaria? Because of the presence of nidoblast cells, stinging cells, or nematocytes. These are chemical-based stinging cells. Their habitat, they are aquatic, mostly are marine, some are freshwater. For marine example is sea anemone or Adamsia. For freshwater, it's Hydra. Habit. They are mostly sessile, means they are attached to the substratum, but some are free swimming. Example, jellyfish or Aurelia. The other habit is solitary or colonial. Jellyfish is solitary. Physalia is colonial in nature. Symmetry, they have radial symmetry and they show germ layer. Their radial symmetry. They are acoelomate. They have tissue level of organization and they are diploblasted with mesoglia present. Okay. Next, they show polymorphism, means multiple morphology. Then it means more than one form is present. How is the body? Body has a mouth. It has a hypostome to which the mouth is present and then tentatals. These tentatals helps in the swimming as well as they have nidoblast cells which helps in stinging. How the nidoblast cells look like? This is the shape of the nidoblast cells where a nidocell is present, which is a spine-like structure that is present. If it is touched or moved, it detects the presence of the other organism. Then there is a nidocyst or a capsule present, which is called a stinging organ, which is present inside the nidoblast cells. It is attached to the cell layer by lasso, and then there is a nucleus present. Then there is a shaft which has spine and a thread wrapped around. This is the structure when it is a coiled state or a closed state. When it opens, then that shaft comes out with the spine and the thread is released. Then the thread releases the gametal outside. Now, nidoblast cells are generally present near the mouth region because they need to capture the prey. They also help in encouragement as well as the defense. Digestive tract is incomplete as we have seen only mouth. So both mouth and anus acts as a single opening. Fine. Their digestive tract is in gastrovascular cavity. What type of digestion? They show both extracellular and intracellular digestion. Now, body form. We discussed they are polymorphic. Actually, they are dimorphic, means they show two morphology. One is polyp, the other is medusae. Polyp is the one which is fixed to the substratum, means it is sessile in nature, whereas medusae is the free living or free swimming form. Example of polyp is Adamsia or sea anemone, whereas example of the medusa is jellyfish. The shape of the polyp is cylindrical, whereas the shape of the medusa is umbrella shaped. Polyps are solitary or colonial. They can be both. But whereas medusa is only and only solitary. Their mouth is facing upward. The polyp mouth is facing upwards, whereas the mouth of medusa is facing downwards. Polyp is an asexual form. It means they are formed by asexual reproduction. They reproduce by asexual mode of reproduction. So if this is asexual, then they do not require any gonads. So what is the job of the polyp? To provide the nutrition and protect the colony. Okay, they do not have any sense cells also present. Example, we have already done Hydra and Adamsia. Whereas for the medusae form, they are the sexual forms. Sexual forms means they reproduce sexually. It means they have to have the gonads. Okay, and what is the role? They for the dispersal of the species. They have 8 sense cells called as stetocysts, and they have 4 gonads also present. Example is Aurelia. Now, there are organisms which take birth as polyp and die as polyp. There are organisms which takes birth at medusae and die as medusae. There are certain organisms which live half-life as medusae and half-life as polyp. How? Medusae being a sexual form means it has gonads. So what it will do? It will reproduce sexually and will form a polyp form. Now, polyp form is an asexual form. It will reproduce asexually by budding and forms the medusae. Where this alternation of generation is present in an organism, it is called as metagenesis, and the example of this is Obelia. Now, respiration and excretion, it happens to the body surface. Ammonia is the chief excretory product. Nervous system is very primitive. They have certain neurons, nerve cells which are present that helps in the processing. Okay. Reproduction, as I told you, sexual and asexual both. Sexual by gametes, asexual by budding. And this is external bud. They have high power of regeneration. Example is Hydra. Skeleton, they have the body supported by both exoskeleton and endoskeleton. Both cases, it is calcareous, means made up of calcium carbonate. In case of corals, it is exoskeleton. Otherwise, other coelentrates has endoskeleton. Development is indirect. They have larval stage. Larva of Abelia is planula larva, which is free living. Whereas Aurelia, it is planula, styphistoma, and ephyra. Then classification is based on the basis of which morphological form is dominant in the life cycle of the organism. So first is hydrozoa. They can be either only polyp or medusae and polyp. Styphozoa, they are only and only medusae form, and anthozoa, they are only polyp form. So hydrozoa example is Hydra, which is only polyp form, Obelia, which shows metagenesis, Physalia and Porpita. Styphozoa only medusae form, which is the example of this is jellyfish, and anthozoa only polyp form. Example is Adansia and Gorgonia. Now we discussed about certain organisms. Hydra, it is freshwater, carnivorous. It has high power of regeneration. It has both bisexual and unisexual form. Obelia, it is the one which shows alternation in generation. The other name of its sea fur. Polyp form is nutritive, whereas medusa is formed by budding. They are carnivorous and their larval stage is known as planula larva. Aurelia, jellyfish, which is medusae form, which is free swimming, and their larval stages, planula, ephyra, and styphistoma. Physalia is colonial, also called as Portuguese man of war. Okay, they have a gas gland present at the nematophore, which will produces the gas, which helps in the floating of Physalia at the surface of the water. They also show polymorphism, and they have 3 types of nematophores: dactylozoids, gastrozoids, and gonadozoids. Next, Adamsia or sea anemone. It is the only polyp form and it is a marine, right? They are found attached to the empty shells occupied by the hermit crab, right? Why Adamsia shows commensalism? What is commensalism? It is a kind of relationship where one is benefited and the other one is neither harmed nor benefited. Here, Adamsia is getting benefit as the movement of hermit crabs helps in the transport, whereas hermit crab is neither benefited nor harmed. Next and last is corals. These are the only coelentrates which has exoskeleton made up of calcium carbonate. Example is Peninsula, also called as sea pen, Gorgonia, also called as sea fan, Meandrina, also called as brain coral. Okay. So these are the examples and these are the basically most of the points that we have to cover in coelenterata. Let's take a break of 2 minutes and then we'll start with Ctenophora. Okay. Let's start with the next phylum name called as Ctenophora. They're also called as sea walnuts. Why? See, they are called as sea walnuts because they are circular like walnut or walnut shaped. They're also called as comb jellies. Why comb jellies? They are transparent, like they are because they are transparent like jellies and they have complex. Okay. They are also called as anidarian. Why anidarian? Because they do not have any nematoblast present. No nematoblast is present. Therefore, uh, no nematoblast, therefore called anidarian. Okay. What is the habitat? Habitat exclusively marine. See, this exclusively marine means all the organisms are marine only. There will be some phylum which will be exclusively marine. Keep the name in mind, which are the phylums that are exclusively marine. Okay. Habit. They feed on phytoplankton, swim by cilia, and shows bioluminescence. Bioluminescence. What is this? You might have seen fireflies. They shine at night, right? What is that? That is also bioluminescence. This is the property of emitting light. Okay. They are also free swimming. Free swimming. Symmetry. This phylum also has radial symmetry. Actually, they are biradial. What is biradial means? Inside, if you see from the organs, they are radial symmetry. Outside, if you see, they are radially symmetrical. But inside the body, if you see, they are bilaterally symmetrical. So that counts as biradial symmetry. But otherwise, they have radial symmetry. Comb gives radial appearance, but tentacles of gastrovascular canal is gastrovascular is bilateral. Okay, what do I mean? I'll show you the structure. Okay, then they have tissue level of organization. Okay, and they have they are acoelomate. They are acoelomate. Let's see the body. So the body is something like this, round shape, like a walnut. Okay, they have a mouth present here. This is how the internal body looks like. Other than that, they have 8 complates present. What are these complates? These complates, they have cilia present at their surface. So just like how the comb looks like, same way, they also look like. That's why the name complates. There are 8 complates present. Like this, 8 complates are present. These are what? Complates. This is mouth. These are anal pores. This is tentacles. These are 8 complates. Okay. These comb plates have cilia present. And the cilia helps in locomotion and movement. Okay. So what is the body? Body is variable. Okay. They have coloblast cells. The special cells of the phylum Ctenophora is coloblast cells. What was the characteristic cell of Porifera? They were collar cells or guanocytes. For Coelenterata, those were cylindron, like nidoblast cells. And for Ctenophora, these are coloblast cells. So body, coloblast cells are present in epidermis of tentacles, right? And helps in capture of prey. Fine. They have stetocyst for balancing. Okay. Their digestive system, it is complete system as there are both mouth and anal pores present. Okay. And digestion is both extracellular and intracellular. Both extracellular and intracellular. Fine. They do not have any skeletal, respiratory, circulatory, or excretory system. They do not have any respiratory, circulatory, excretory, or skeletal system. Okay. Reproduction, no asexual reproduction. This is the first phylum which shows no asexual reproduction. Okay. Only sexual reproduction. They are hermaphrodite. They shows cross and external fertilization. So hermaphrodite means both the sexes are present in the same body, right? Cross fertilization because the sexes develop at the different time or mature at the different time, because of which they undergo cross fertilization and external fertilization in water. Pedogenesis is common. What is pedogenesis? Reproduction by larva without fertilization. Means larva is sexually mature. Okay. Development. Development is indirect, and the name of the larva is cydipid larva. Cydipid larva. This is the ciliated spherical larva. Okay. What are the examples? There are only two examples that are given. One is pleurobrachia, also called as sea gooseberry, and the other is Ctenoplana. Ctenoplana is the similar name as Ctenophora, but pleurobrachia is something important. Pleurobrachia, also called as sea gooseberry, and Ctenoplana. What about the classification? There are two classes. One is Tentaculata and the other is Nuda. Tentaculata with tentatals. Example is Pleurobrachia and Ctenoplana. The other is Nuda. Nuda, no tentacles. Okay. Example is Beroi. This is the complete phylum, Ctenophora. It is not a very big phylum, very small phylum. Let's have a quick revision. The phylum Ctenophora, also called as sea walnuts because they are circular, spherical, or walnut shaped. They are also called as comb jellies because they are transparent like jellies and they have comb present on their body. They are also called as anidarians because they have no nidoblast cells present, nematoblast cells present. Habitat, exclusively marine. The first phylum to show exclusively marine habitat. Habit, they feed on phytoplankton, swim by cilia, and they show bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is very important, means they emit light. And they are free swimming also. They are radially symmetrical. They have the comb that is present on their body, which but actually the symmetry is biradial. Why? Because the presence of comb, which are 8 in number, shows the radial symmetry, but the tentacles and the gastrovascular canal which is present, it shows the bilateral symmetry. So this is actually biradial. They have tissue level of organization and acylomate. This is the body of a ctenophora, where there are 8 comb plates present. Then there are 2 tentacles present. There are 2 anal pores and 1 mouth is also present. These comb plates have cilia present. This looks like the comb with which we comb our hair. Okay, the cilia present, it helps in the locomotion and movement. The body of ctenophora is variable. They have a coloblast cells. Coloblast cells are the characteristic property of ctenophora, and these cells are present at the epidermis of the tentacles and helps in the capture of prey. They also have statocyst for balancing. The digestion is both extracellular and intracellular. They do not have any organ for respiration, excretion, skeletal system, and circulation. Reproduction, this is the first phylum which shows no asexual reproduction, only sexual reproduction is present. They are hermaphrodite, means both the sexes are present in the same body. They undergo cross fertilization because the gametes mature at the different time. They show external fertilization. Pedogenesis is very common, where the larva is sexually mature and reproduce without fertilization. Development is indirect with centipede larva. Examples are pleurobrachia, also called as sea gooseberry, or tinoplana. The classification, there is 2 classes, tentaculata and nuda. Tentaculata, as the name says, they have tentacles present. Example is pleurobrachia and tinoplana. Nuda, they do not have any tentacles. Example is beroi. This is our small phylum, Ctenophora. So today we covered Coelenterata and Ctenophora. I hope the phylums are very much clear to you. Now we are done with some amount of the chapter. We are done with basis of classification. We are done with Porifera, Coelenterata, and Ctenophora. In next class, we'll be discussing certain conceptual questions for these 3 phylums and the basis of classification. Okay, we'll have a small flowchart for all the phylums, as well as we'll discuss the questions. So guys, if you like the content, if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and please make sure you are reading it properly. Thank you very much.